Can we say with certitude there's a deal, and there's a deal to bring back to Congress in Washington?
There is definitely a deal. That news broke from multiple delegations who we've been covering here in Vienna for the last 19 days. So for sure there is a deal. We actually have a copy, a text of the deal, and we know several important things from it. One is that December 15th is the target date by which Iran is supposed to have taken all of the steps laid out to limit its nuclear program, and UN monitors from the IAEA need to verify those steps. And at that point, Iran would be eligible for bulk sanctions relief, which involves having their banks let back into the SWIFT system, having oil sanctions removed, and getting access to almost $150 billion in overseas frozen assets. So, of course, December 15th, big date that Iran is going to be pushing for. None of this sanctions relief will happen unless IAEA, ticks the box that they've done all these steps, including resolve the international community's questions about the possible military dimensions of Iran's past nuclear work. So a lot of investigation, busy months ahead if this is going to go through.
Indira, looking at the actual text of the deal and given what you have heard from Congress over the last 6 months, can you handicap the likelihood of this getting through Congress?
Look, I think it's going to be really hard to get a majority in Congress approving the deal. The Obama administration, John Kerry himself, but also the president's top advisors are going to have a very big job ahead of them going to Congress and in classified setting and open setting trying to explain why this is a good deal. It puts a 10-year limit on enrichment by Iranians, and it does many other things.
Indira, that is a bold statement by you. I know you've had no sleep. What are the consequences if Congress says to the president and Tehran, we're not going to do this deal? What happens next?
Well, the president can veto that. And so that's why I say ultimately, even though I don't think Congress will approve this deal, I don't think they have a veto-proof majority to reject it. I don't think there's two-thirds of the Senate who is going to say no to the president. But I do think the president may have to veto a majority saying no to this deal.
Indira Lakshmanan in Vienna this morning, of course, his history is made. What time was it? Like 2 a.m. This came out?
2:27.
We need to go to where there is a little bit of pushback. I speak lightly and with respect for Israel. They are not happy. Our Elliott Gotkine is in Tel Aviv. Brendan, lead off our questioning with Elliott Gotkine. This is heated response.
Elliott, Benjamin Netanyahu right out of the gate obviously showing his disapproval of the deal. What leverage does he have right now over the actual deal?
Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to be going to Congress, which Indira was just referring to, and trying to ensure that Congress does kill this deal or do its best to kill a deal. But Netanyahu putting his opinions out there on Twitter, as he's so happy to do, saying that when willing to make a deal at any cost, this is the result. From early reports, we can see that the deal is an historic mistake. And his Deputy Foreign Minister, Tzipi Hotovely, went a little bit further, saying it was a historic capitulation by the West to the axis of evil headed by Iran.
Elliott, we've known for a couple days that a deal is very likely. What does public opinion in Israel look like on the terms as we have them?
Well, the last elections here showed that the country was very much divided between right and left. But I think one of the few things that many Israelis agree upon, whether they're on the opposition or supporters of Netanyahu's ruling coalition, is that they don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. They know that Iran has, even recently, words from the Supreme Leader talking about the destruction of Israel and how that is an objective of Iran and how that should be an objective of the world. So I think most Israelis and politicians of all hues here are very much against Iran getting a nuclear weapon. Where they differ, I think, is the nuance, is how to deal with the U.S. administration, particularly President Obama, to get Israel's point of view across.
Well, Elliott, you mentioned the president. Indira Lakshmanan, the president, to speak around 7 a.m. This morning here in about 50 minutes. He will need to speak to his Democrats as well as Republicans, obviously in opposition. What does the president need to say to his party?
I think what he's going to say to the American people is that this is a historic accord that is preventing what has been a rogue state from developing nuclear weapons. That's really the simple message he needs to get out there. He needs to say that this is going to stop a nuclear weapons race in the Middle East, that it's going to bring peace and security to the world in the Middle East, and he's going to be selling that message very hard to say this is a win for the United States and the West, not just a win for Iran and getting its sanctions lifted.
Indira Lakshmanan, thank you so much. Elliott Gotkine as well, and Tel Aviv.